Today's show is sponsored by Kyrios Consulting. That is Kyrios with a Y, Kyrios. Real estate investing can be intimidating. That's why you don't do it alone. Kyrios Consulting gets you from no real estate to your first rental property. My friend Steve did it right here in New Hampshire, and he wants to help other Christians do the same. Visit consultingbykyrios.com. Again, that's with a Y, consultingbykyrios.com. No more excuses. The world needs more Christians with passive income, not more passive Christians. Make it happen. The link is in the description. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. It is Monday. I hope you have a productive week planned ahead of you. Well, maybe not too productive, because hopefully you're taking a few days off, or maybe at least one for the 4th of July. But in any case, let's jump right into it today. You remember this tweet? Yeah, this was about 8 days ago, something like that. We have Joel Berry from the Babylon Bee trying to dunk on your boy A.D. Robles because, Joel Webbin and I both agree that homosexuality should be criminalized, and we believe that the death penalty in aggravated situations makes perfect sense because, that's what God seems to say. And when you think about it for a little while, you can certainly understand the logic of what God was prescribing for his people. So, Israel's penalty for sodomy was the death penalty. We're not Israel. We understand that. But you think about, well, why would that be? And you don't have to think too hard to understand why that might be. And so I completely believe that would be appropriate for 2024 as well. And so, but here's Joel. If you remember, Joel Berry was trying to dunk on us.
And he said, "These guys will never have power. They aren't smart, rational, or disciplined enough to successfully lead anything. All they'll ever be is a useful foil for the growing communist state."
And we, of course, addressed this at the time. It's just, it's typical, regime evangelical position. This is not really unique to Joel, but, Joel's, here he is. He's interacting with me, so I decided to interact with him. And I guess he's got a little bit of notoriety or whatever. So I thought it was worth commenting on. And so that was 8 days ago. But here's Joel today. Less than 10 days ago, less than 10 days later, he says, "I think people are starting to understand why homosexuality used to be outlawed." Yeah. Oh my goodness. This is not it's funny almost every single time you see something like this, but it's not that unusual. This kind of thing happens all the time. You don't have to look too hard to see Owen Strawn doing stuff like this, and it's just very, very common, especially with those Christians who are completely regime, focused, and they're completely acceptable to the regimes, but they want to position themselves as they're a bit of a renegade, right? They want to position themselves as they're a stalwart conservative. Any person out there that whenever they say something says, "I'm a stalwart conservative," but that they're not, obviously. And that's the kind of guy that Joel is. He's still very much locked into the post-war consensus, mindset. But he wants to position himself as someone who gets it, right? You don't get it, Joel. You don't get it. But that being said, this is very common. You'll see them, talk about how concerning or dangerous or stupid something is, and then not too long later, a few days in this case, but sometimes it'll be a few weeks, a few months, they'll say essentially the same thing, just in a much more limp-wristed kind of a way. You know what I mean? So a guy like me will just say it. A guy like Joel Webbin, he'll just say it. Joel Berry will also say it eventually, but it'll be more like this, the way he says it. And this is very common. You got to watch out for this kind of thing. You're being played by people like this because and I'll take it all back, Joel Berry. I'll take it all back if you would do one simple thing. And I know you will never do this thing, So I feel totally comfortable saying I'll never have to take this back. All you'd have to do is say, they were right, and 8 days ago I was wrong. I messed that one up. You know, I didn't quite understand why they were saying the things they were saying. I didn't quite get it, but this weekend I saw the Pride Parade where the one guy was on his knees servicing the other guy in public, and they were urinating on each other, and I saw the guys riding around on a bicycle naked in front of children, and I just, you know what? Man, it really clicked all of a sudden. And, you know, Joel Webbin was right. A.D. Robles was right. All of these wacko Christian nationalists on this topic, maybe I don't like them on other topics, but on this topic, they're right, and I was wrong, and I'm changing my opinion. You see, if you were to do that, I would not put you in the category of Owen Strachan. I would not put you in the category of these people that are trying to position themselves as, like, these hardcore, like, you know, stalwart conservatives out there fighting the good fight, but they're really not. I wouldn't put you in that category if you were just willing to take your L, accept your, you know, change of heart here and say, you know, maybe I wouldn't have said it the way AD said it, but, you know, he was right. I wouldn't have said it the way Joel Webbin said it, but he was right. You know, foundationally, he was right. You know, maybe I don't quite agree with the full bore level of this, but they're right that homosexuality should be criminalized, or at least it's not good for society, and we should look at ways of limiting it or something. If you're going to be milquetoast about it, just be milquetoast in a straightforward way. But you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. You're just going to say the same thing that we say, except in a much more homosexual kind of a way, in a much gayer kind of way. That's how you're going to do it.
I think people are starting to understand why homosexuality should be outlawed.
Like 8 days ago, I was too stupid, too irrational, too undisciplined because of this exact opinion. Yes, it should be criminalized. Yes, it should be criminalized. And I believe that God, when he handed out punishments to Israel back in the Old Testament, when he was telling them, you know, certain things, okay, you do restitution, certain things, you pay a price, certain things, you know, it's a death penalty. I don't think he did that just willy-nilly arbitrarily. He took the very serious crimes, the very serious situations, and he said those things are worthy of death. Those things, if you engage in them, you know, the way that's handled is that they meet their maker right away. That doesn't eliminate the possibility for grace. That doesn't mean that every homosexual has ever lived is going to hell. It doesn't mean anything like that. But what it does mean is that there are certain offenses that are very serious. They're very serious, and murder is one of them. And, you know, there's possible grace for murderers too. We all get that. We all get that. Not every murderer is in hell. We all understand. You know, kidnapping, same kind of thing. It's a very serious offense. But it doesn't mean there's no grace for kidnappers. It doesn't mean that there's every kidnapper, not a single one, is in heaven. It doesn't mean anything like that. And so we understand, like, there's certain offenses that are serious, and if we go to the Old Testament, we can see hints and clues as to what those are. It's those things where God says, look, there's no restitution for this, besides your life is forfeit. There's no restitution except for the fact that your life is forfeit, and that's how you handle that. It's not like God took minor infractions and said, okay, we're going to hand the death penalty for that one because, you know, when someone steals a candy bar, you know, definitely, you know, death penalty for them. You know, that it's not like that. God's law to Israel made sense, and we can look at the law to Israel and say which of those things were unique to Israel and which of those things, perhaps there's a general principle there. Perhaps there's a general equity there that the civil governing authority is required to follow. And we may or may not disagree on some of those principles, but at least we can understand that that is a very effective way to go and do this. Now, the world is going to think, though, and this is where you've got to, like, you've got to do a number on yourself, because here's the thing, like, as a kid, I grew up, and I was brainwashed in all the ways that everybody was brainwashed. I watched G.I. Joe, too. I watched Boy Meets World. I watched all of these shows that conditioned us over time. I had probably very similar teachers to the ones you had. I mean, maybe even worse, because I lived in Connecticut at the time, probably one of the most liberal places on earth. I was brainwashed in all the ways you were brainwashed. And so when I hear something like what Joel Webbin said and like what I said about homosexuality and the death penalty, the instant thing that I used to think was, oh, that's barbaric. That's like Muslim stuff. That's like, what do you want, Sharia law? That's barbaric. I mean, how could you be so cruel? How could you be so irrational and undisciplined? How could you be so stupid? See, that's the thought that comes to mind. But what you've got to do, my friends, is realize that they've done a number on you, and you've got to rewrite a lot of what they did to you. You have to rethink things. When you feel those emotions well up and you want to dunk on your friends, on Christians, because they said something from the Bible that's very, very obviously true from the Bible, but it goes against your programming, you've got to realize what's happening to you. They've done a number on you. They've done a number on you. And take a deep breath and maybe don't dunk on your Christian friends. You know, maybe not. Maybe you're the one who's wrong. You see, to the world, you're undisciplined, you're irrational, you're too stupid to understand that we're in 2024 now. Homosexuality is to be celebrated, or at least tolerated. They think you're undisciplined, they think you're irrational, they think you're stupid. But here's the truth. If you're going to survive trash world, if you're going to not be manipulated so easily in 2024, you're going to have to think things and do things that the world is going to think are irrational, undisciplined, and stupid. You have to be willing to be seen as irrational, undisciplined, and stupid to the world. That's the truth. That's the antidote. Now, it doesn't mean that every stupid thing you've ever done is a good thing, obviously. It doesn't mean if you're actually undisciplined that that's a good thing. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that acting irrational is a good thing. It doesn't mean that. But so often, the things that you must promote, the things that you must believe, the things that you must do to a fake world are going to look irrational, undisciplined, and stupid. Look, people out there think that when we take our kids through the catechism and they're memorizing catechism questions, they're going to think that is stupid. You got to do it anyway. You got to do it anyway. People are going to think when you homeschool your own kids that that's irrational. You got to do it anyway. You got to do it anyway. And a lot of people who really do care deep down about how people view them from the world out there, how the media views them, they're going to say things when they see Joel Webbin get promoted on Right Wing Watch because he says that homosexuality should be outlawed. And they see Eddie Robles, so true. Something's going to click in their brains, and they're going to try to dunk on you because they haven't, personally, this is quite ironic, they're not disciplined enough to resist their emotions that they were taught to have at a very young age. And over time, they were taught to react a certain way to guys like Joel Webbin, to statements like Joel Webbin's. And this message here from Joel Berry, this is him emoting at you. Look at that Neanderthal fundamentalist. He's obviously stupid, undisciplined, can't lead anything. This is just emotions speaking here. He wasn't thinking this through. Joel Berry wasn't thinking this through. This is him emoting at you. This is exactly the position they want you in. And when I say they, we all know who I'm talking about. We're talking about the regime. We're talking about the cultural leaders of our country. This is where they want you. They want you feeling through things instead of thinking through them. Joel Berry knows better. I firmly believe that. Joel Berry knows better that this statement here from Joel Webbin and I has absolutely nothing to do with intelligence, rationality, or discipline. He knows that, but he said it anyway because he's been trained to do so. He saw an opportunity to signal against the right, and he knows better. But he's been trained a certain way. I was trained that way. If I still had a Facebook, which I don't, if I still had a Facebook, you could probably see me signaling against the right very similarly to Joel Berry in the past. Because I didn't want people to think I was like one of those Christians. I was conservative. Yes, I was definitely theological conservative. But I wasn't like those Neanderthal political fundamentalists out there. I wasn't like that. So I would signal against them. Look, we've all been there. We've all been there, and I've got sympathy for that position. But you've got to watch out for this in yourself first, but definitely with people that you follow. Joel Berry will never apologize for this. He'll never admit that these two things 8 days apart, where he's calling us stupid, irrational, undisciplined, and then saying the same thing, except in a much more limp-wristed way. These two things don't compute. But here he saw his opportunity. The emotions welled up within him, and he did not have the strength or the will to put them down. You've got to put them down. When those emotions rise up, I've said this about the woke church stuff. We haven't talked about that stuff in a long time. But I've said it before. The next time you see the media present to you a white cop shooting up a black guy just for no reason, he just shot up a black guy for no reason, and you feel those emotions, and you I gotta say, I cannot abide. I'm conservative, and I'm the last person to say that there's racism, but this is, I cannot abide. Like, this is not any different. This time, it's not any different. That you can assume that, and then if you're proven wrong later, it's okay. It's okay. If it's different, the white cop said, I'm going to kill all you, or, and he, okay, fine. Turns out he's racist. Okay, who knew, Who knew? It's just that the first 20 times that I saw this, it turned out that was a hoax, and now I just assume it's a hoax. That's your fault, not mine. You feel those emotions, take a deep breath and just stop for a second. Before you do the thing that you think you must do. You must show the world that I'm not like those guys. I'm not like those Christians. This is the same impulse that like Keller has when the Atlantic called him, and they knew they could count on him to rip regular pew-sitting Christians. They could call up Russell Moore anytime, and he'll talk about how racist and awful and abusing the Christian church is. Like, this is the same impulse. Joel Berry is using the same impulse here that Russell Moore uses, that Tim Keller uses, that all of these kind of guys, Matt Chandler, all of them, they do the same thing. They have no problem dragging Christ's bride through the mud just because they're asked to. Just because the Wall Street Journal calls them and asks them to. They'll do it. They have no problem. They don't even hesitate. They don't even have a second thought. Oh, you want me to say something bad about the bride of Christ? No problem. Because they're look. We can have sympathy for people like this. I was trained the same way. I've said things, and I don't even know why I was saying them. I've said things like this before. I've told this example before, but the Norm Macdonald meme, about Hamas or the Muslims. Like what I really worry about is all the innocent Muslims. Like stuff like that. I said stuff like that before. I think I said it after 9/11, and I didn't even know why I was saying it. It's like, man, what I really want, the towers come down, and what I'm thinking to myself, the first thought is, man, all those Muslims, man, I just feel bad for them. We're gonna go over there, we're gonna attack them, and that obviously there's other issues with 9/11, but that was my first thought. I don't even know why that was my first thought, but you know why it was? Because I was trained that way. So here's Joel Berry. I think people are starting to understand why homosexuality used to be outlawed. Yeah, that's right. Lots of people, and a lot of people started understanding this a long time ago. A long time ago, Joel. This is nothing new. It's just that, guys like you used to warn and be, concern post and all kinds of things about guys like me. And you'll still do it. This is the thing. People said, oh, well, the Overton window's shifting in 8 days, and the Overton window moves so lightning fast now, and all of that. And people have a lot of high hopes for Joel Berry that eventually he'll get it. He won't get it. He doesn't get it. This is not about the Overton window, my friends. It isn't. This is about Joel just feeling through things. He saw something shocking that a right-wing rage blogger posted about, with naked guys running through the streets and doing things to each other and pissing on each other. And so now it's time to rage conservative. That's his thing. Look, you should be angry about that. I'm not dismissing that kind of rage. But Joel Berry is completely undisciplined. He's raging at that now, and so he says something that fundamentally he disagreed with 8 days earlier. Because this was the time to rage against the right. And so, the media plays people like this like a fiddle. Like, when it's time to rage against the right, he's ready to do it. When it's time to rage against the left, he's ready to do it. This guy doesn't know which way's up. That's the truth. This is not about Overton window. Unless I'm wrong. And there's an easy way to prove me wrong, Joel. There's an easy way to show everybody in the world that A.D. Robles jumps to conclusions and he's an idiot and all this kind of stuff, right? There's an easy way. Don't even apologize to me. I don't even care. I don't even care. Go back on your Twitter and say, yeah, that thing with Joel Webbin that I signaled against, I might not agree with his tone. I don't agree with everything he says, but fundamentally, I'm in agreement with him. He's right. He's right. I think it makes perfect sense that someone would think homosexuality should be outlawed in 2024. It makes perfect sense. I was wrong and he was right. But you'll never do it because you don't have the discipline or the rationality. And quite frankly, I don't know how intelligent you are, but it certainly doesn't seem like you're that intelligent. Because an intelligent person would think to himself, 8 days ago I was talking about this thing. Maybe I should wait on this one. Maybe I should wait on this one. Maybe I should word it a little differently so it's not so obvious. That's the truth. That's the truth. Joel Berry is being played like a fiddle every single day. And he has, how many followers does this guy have? Almost 100,000 followers. And all his followers are being played like a fiddle by him. Unintentionally. I don't think he's part of it. They're still feeling through things. And the next time a black guy gets shot by a white cop, you can count on guys like Joel Berry to be right there and say, I usually stand against this, but I cannot abide this any longer. We have a problem here in the United States. I've seen it too many times. Maybe Joel won't do it, but guys like Joel will definitely do it. Instead of just learning from your mistakes and saying, yeah, look, the first 30 times I saw this, it was a hoax. Maybe this one's real, but I'm just going to keep my mouth shut because I don't know which way's up. At least that'd be honest. Guy like me, I already don't believe the next PSYOP. The next police shooting, I already know it's a hoax. Don't even know the details. Hasn't even happened yet. I know it's a hoax. As long as it's a racially motivated one. That's the thing. If it's, there's another white cop shot up a black guy, no reason. I already know that's fake. And if I'm proven wrong, I'll be like, all right, this time he really didn't like black people, and he just decided he wanted to shoot one out of nowhere. Yeah. All right. That time he did it. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to be the first idiot out there with a hot take. You know what I mean? I don't know. But listen, when a guy like Joel Berry calls you irrational or unintelligent or undisciplined, you got to understand what that means. That means that you're likely on the right track. Because to the world and to those who are still kind of slaves to the world's mindset, the right thing is always going to appear undisciplined, irrational, and unintelligent. That is the bottom line. So I hope that you find this encouraging. And by the way, don't harass Joel to apologize to Joel. Like, we don't need any of that. We don't need an apology. It is the right thing to do, but we don't need an apology. I mean, I don't speak for Joel Webbin. I mean, maybe he feels differently. But, I do speak to... Let me just get on the record. I do speak to Joel Webbin. I haven't spoke to him about this. Let me just say that before somebody tries to catch me in a lie. But you don't need him to apologize to us. Like, I don't care. I barely knew who Joel Berry was. You know, it doesn't even matter to me. But what I am saying, though, is that you got to watch out for guys like this. They're so controlled by their emotions and by what the regime has done to them that they don't even know it. They don't even know which way's up half the time. That's how you get two tweets like this, less than 10 days apart, that just don't make sense together at all. That's how you get this. It's not about Overton window or anything like that. That's nice wishful thinking. And I have no problem with you guys. You wish that Joel Berry would become better and more based over time. Maybe he will. Maybe he will, and I have no problem with you hoping that. But I don't think that's what this is about. This is not about the Overton window. I don't think Joel Berry just finally saw the light because of the last Rage video that he saw. Because he's seen 100 Rage videos. Yeah, this one was pretty intense, and I'm not even going to talk about it anymore. I don't want you to go looking for it. It's disgusting. It's absolutely grotesque. But there's been 100 videos like that. 100 every year it's like that. He's seen it. He knows what we're talking about. But he also knew that on June 22nd, it was time to rage against the right. And on July 1st, it's time to rage against the left. And like a good little soldier, he's ready to do it at a moment's notice. Don't be like Joel Berry. That's my advice to you. When you see this kind of thing in yourself, you've got to nip this in the bud and put it to death. I hope you found this video helpful. God bless.